has been
Any other, I hate to cut you out, any other panelists would
Yeah, let me just take up on that because, you know, we were involved in crafting the mission as it was reflected by the trust agreement. You know, we didn't set up the structure initially, but we really believe that it can work. We've been working with it. We've been working under it. And we sometimes asked ourselves, what else? What's the alternative? And perhaps if you looked at it, the only alternative would have been direct government control. And that would have been nationalization. And that was not the intent of this. So we serve as the trustees. We're maximizing the value for the taxpayer. And we believe that it has functioned well, and we're pleased with it so far.
Thank you.
I feel some obligation to rebut.
You aren't compelled to answer, Mr. Fauché. If you want to, you can.
I just feel like we probably need to rebut some of the things that were said by my colleague to the left because we disagree with them. The beneficiary of the trust is, in fact, not the U.S. Treasury Department. It is, in fact, the U.S. Treasury. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but as a layperson, I can tell you what I believe, and I believe that that is the U.S. taxpayer. Okay. Secondly, with regard to some ability to secretly take a business opportunity, there is, in fact, a provision in the trust that says that we cannot take a business opportunity away from AIG, but the fact is we all have other jobs, and if I have an opportunity for El Paso Corporation, what the trust says is I don't have to share that business opportunity from El Paso with AIG, which I would think most people would think would be pretty reasonable. And last, we would just respectfully disagree that the indemnification agreement provided in the trust is inappropriate, and in fact, it complies with Delaware law and many other states, and we're, as trustees, more than happy to put our reputational risk in front of this committee and act on behalf of the U.S. taxpayers. We feel responsible to each other in addition to the taxpayers and to all of you. And we thought and still believe that the indemnification provided was appropriate.
Thank you for that. Mr.
Chairman, if I may have
leave, I'm going to let you have some brief comments. Go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, with respect to the definition of what Treasury means in this document, unfortunately, it's particularly unclear. Treasury Department is a defined term, which in corporate legal drafting is something we do to make sure that every time we use a term in a document, the definition is consistent. So we put it in bold, we put it in parentheses, we highlight it as much as possible. So Treasury Department is defined as the U.S. Department of the Treasury. Treasury, though, as mentioned in the applicable standard of care section, is not a defined term. It's not in bold, and is very vague about its definition. Now, I think it is perfectly consistent to understand that that might mean the Treasury Department. That might also mean Treasury, as in the general fund, in which case it still doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as maximizing shareholder value. Anything that might be good for the general fund, for Treasury's expenses, maybe they want to do something discretionary, but they can get AIG to fund it instead and as a subsidy on AIG's books, could be in the best interest of the Treasury and the general fund, but not in the best interest of maximizing the taxpayers' investment. Secondly, with respect to the corporate opportunity provision, I would offer only quickly that it would permit them to take opportunities that would otherwise belong to AIG. It's crafted specifically that way. And thirdly, just with respect to indemnification, as a former clerk for the Delaware Court of Chancery, I can offer my professional opinion with respect to Delaware law that this indemnification in here is not legal under Delaware law. It's not permitted by the Delaware General Corporation. All
right. Thank you for that. And we are going to go to Mr. Kucinich. We're going to be a little